Namaste, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're tuning in to this broadcast from around the world. Hello, my name is Nishit Kotak. I'm here with the team from Hindu Academy. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your weekend. And if you are new to this broadcast, let me just quickly explain how this broadcast works. On this broadcast, we talk about Hinduism and we encourage the viewers to participate. Now, how can you do this? You can like, share, and subscribe on the platform you're on. Share this broadcast with your friends and family, because the more people that join us live, the more better the quality of the conversation we will have online. So what we do is we have a focused topic. Today's topic is going to be how text torturing is used to show Hinduism in a poor light. What is it and how do we counter it? That's what we're going to look at very shortly. Now, after we see this video, we are going to do a little bit of a Q&A session around this topic. And then later on, we will open up for general questions and answers on anything to do with Hinduism. So feel free to participate by putting your questions, your thoughts, your comments into the chat area on the platform you're viewing this video on today. Please do let us know where you are watching us from as well, because it does help us to know where our reach is. So without wasting any more time, let me just share this little video that we've got for today. And I'll be back in 3 minutes time once it's done.
You know what text torturing means? His skill is not actually thinking for himself. It is just to memorize chapter and verse quotes from different religions. And he will choose those verses that can help him to show a very slanted vision regarding showing his religion in a good light and our religion in a poor light.
So he will use context accordingly.
Out of context, he'll pull out things and memorize, say, Bhavishya Puran, it said this, then verse this, and stuff like that. So this guy has got no intellect himself. His only skill is memorizing. And you can all do that. You can pick up chapter and verse quotes of other religion and throw it in their face and see, your religion said that kill the non-believer. See, you can throw it in their face and say, see, this is what you're all about. So his skill is purely memorizing and text torturing, means taking things out of context and throwing it in your face to show your religion in a poor light. And poor gullible Hindus, they say because he's quoting a chapter from the Bhagavad Gita, oh, he must know it, he must be right. So you get caught out. Ask him to talk about religion without using any chapter and verse quotes, they will catch him out. He can't talk anything. He has no structured understanding regarding religion, his or our religion. So his method is purely just, memorizing chapter verse and throwing this and comparing and saying, see, oh, show my religion a better light. Don't get caught up. But Hindus are gullible. They go, oh, he's quoting our chapter and verse. He says, don't get caught up with Shastras, I keep telling you. So don't listen to this nonsense. The other religious personality you talk about, it's better for me not to pass comments because I'm not here to, Zakir Naik will take him on because it's really creating a hell for us. Other people we have, they all may be good-hearted people, but my challenge to you is this. Ask yourself, are these people talking from, if you like, from getting his first and experience of spirit? Or are they just offering you some waffle, some articulate witty banter, or is it something that is purely spiritual, comes out from personal spiritual experience? It is purely witty comments, watch out. If it is spiritually, look, I will only judge a person depending on whether I feel he is spiritually oriented, he is spiritually experienced. For example, when I listen, say, Vallabhacharya talking about, this Madhuram, I say, this man has experienced the spirit, because see, this is the experience. You see, the whole world is sweeter than the sweetest. This is the sign of a spiritually enlightened person. So unless the person you are kind of focusing on is spiritually enlightened, forget about the showmanship they may be showing, don't get caught up. It may be just pure hype, pure public relation exercise. So be very aware. That's all I can say.
Free e-learning course in Hinduism. To register, please visit www.hindu-academy.com.
Talks on Hinduism, sponsored by People Care, encouraging caring for the elderly in their own homes. For more information, please visit peoplecare.com.
There we go. So what an interesting topic, and we have quite a number of people who do this text torturing business and actually make it part of their approach in showing Hinduism in a poor light. So, Manish bhai, over to you to get started with this topic. What are your thoughts on this sort of method of approaching Hinduism and showing it in bits and pieces out of context?
Yes, thank you, Nisit bhai. Welcome viewers for today's live Q&A session. Very interesting topic. And at Hindu Academy, we do get some viewers really concerned about this kind of questioning from some of the Abrahamic religions. And they seem to target some of these youngsters and some people who are very gullible with kind of questioning they get and some of the stories they question. And we all know about Zakir Naik, and he quotes chapter and verse to try to further his agenda of presenting Hinduism in poor light and then converting people to his religion. What is your take on, what is your experience about this, Vijay bhai?
Okay, I think this is a very important topic, because as Manish bhai, you mentioned, so many of our children get caught in this game of scriptural playing, playing with words. We need to be very careful, because Hinduism is not a religion based on a book. Let's make it clear, we are not a religion of the book. If you keep that in mind, then you are safe. Otherwise, you get caught up. I think partly the problem is because we have grown up in the Abrahamic world for so long, and we learn about the Bible, other religious scriptures. We somehow think that is what drives religion, or at least drives dharma. It does not drive dharma. I mean, Hinduism has got so many books, and his books are actually a guide. As Jay bhai mentioned, that is, you have to use your own intellect, intuition to decide for yourself. Couple of things let's lay some ground rules first of all. One thing to remember is that Zakir Naik, he doesn't have anything else. He's a consumer of information. He has got no capacity to create his own information. And we have to be very careful, because Hindus have been content creators, not content consumers like Abrahamic faiths. Abrahamic faiths, they just get a book and that's the follow. If you ask them, write a new book on spirituality, they won't. Oh, I can't do that because I have to accept only the Bible, or I can't do anything. I'm not allowed. They're not allowed to make their own spiritual experience. They can't put in a book. If they put in a book, they'll be scared. They might be accused of blasphemy. See, Hinduism is a religion which creates content. Same with Buddhism. I mean, as you know, all Hindus know that we have not one. We have a library of books, a vast collection, and that just shows that Hindus over so many thousands of years have been putting the experiences, the understanding of religion, what they see from religion, their own commentaries, and there's a vast collection of literature. That's what is really great about our tradition. Similar with Buddhism, I think Buddhism has created, hundreds of thousands of different kinds of literature, because they create content. Yeah, religion is not something narrow, like a narrow alley. Just go in the alley and that's it. You can't move out. Religion is very broad and vast, and the understanding of religion, or its dharma, can vary from person to person, and every person will experience dharma differently. And of course, when they do that, if they document it, they'll document it differently. So in a way, we should see it from a different angle, that for Hindus, experience of the divine is the most important. And there's so many people who have had these experiences, divine experience, and they've documented them. And this is what we actually look at as a guide for us. Ultimately, we have to create our own content about spirituality. So you are your master. As I have said before, the greatest book of all is yourself. Doesn't mean that I don't revere. I revere the Gita. I love the Gita. I love the Upanishads. They're fantastic. But that's not enough. Book learning is not enough. There's also a very famous saying by, I think in the Mundak Upanishad, it goes, Naya Matma Pravachena Labhyo Na Medaya Na Bahuna Shrutena. Not your intellect, not reading, a lot of books, scriptures, right? Not listening to sermons, will actually get you a moksha. Moksha is experience insights. Even the Upanishads are saying this. Just rote learning of books will not please any deity in the heavens. Rote learning of the books, so I can memorize this chapter and verses. That just shows that, you are just basically a zombie. You're not able to experience for yourself. So don't ever play that game. As Jay bhai mentioned, people do that in university. I was in university as well. And said, oh, look, your book says this. And I said, then because you Hindus believe, the first question I asked him, which Hindus? Which Hindus believe this? Can you tell me, oh, you all Hindus? No, we don't. We all believe in different things. And the thing is, when they play this game of book versus book, please don't fall into that book, that game, because that game is not how dharmic faiths work. I'll give you another example. I mean, if you look at, say, if you look at the Bible, it's got verses about stoning. When God orders Moses to stone people. They have them there. They can't avoid them because in the Bible, right? So what they do, they suppress them. They don't talk about those. They will never bring those verses out. They also Jesus is compassion. Same, the other verse in a lot of religious books which are really saying you can stone. Even in the Quran, they're stoning. But now most Muslims know, let's talk about something else. I can easily do that. I can take the best verses from my book and compare the verse with some other book. But what does it, to what end? How does it help us? It doesn't. It's just a mere, playing of words. Anybody can do that. Personally, I would advise Hindus, don't do that. Don't promote your religion by stepping on others. Stand on your own feet and promote your faith based on your own understanding and your own intuition. That's the best way to promote the idea of Hinduism. We have to be very careful. I think there was a news yesterday as well. There was in India that there was a Buddhist monk who actually was denigrating Hindu scriptures. What he doesn't realize, he's actually not putting Hindus down, he's putting Buddha himself down. Buddha never did that. So never fall into this game, because this is not a game we play.
Yes, it's a vast topic, Vijay Bhai. And as you said, we've got a library of books, and that is our strength as well as weakness. The problem is that, especially our youngsters, forget about libraries, they're not even reading one book, Bhagavad Gita. And their understanding of our scriptures is very poor. And this is where they get caught up. So if somebody mentions a quote, they think it must be right. And therein lies the problem. And how do we tackle this kind of situation where, somebody says, oh, Yajurveda says, Natastimasti, and you are all worshipping images. You should, and they try to say, oh, your book says this, why are you doing this? Try to, in a way, further their agenda. And so the question is, should we even, what should we do about scriptures? Should there be a guide to some youngsters as to understand and how to go forward with the scriptures? Should they have basic understanding of or knowledge of Hinduism? How do we tackle this, Vijay Bhai?
I think, Manish Bhai, the last part you said is the most important part. You have to learn now the basis of Hinduism, what Hinduism is about. Because most people, they learn about other religions, they think that Hinduism is the same bracket. Dharmic faiths actually work very differently. So I think, Manish, the biggest thing we have to do is educate our youth what Hinduism is about. Then they'll have the strength, and the kind of, the armor to protect themselves from this kind of attacks. Because you're right. I mean, you can selectively quote anything and just put it down. But again, when you quote, Hinduism has got so many strange practices. There's some practices also, I know there's some Hindus in some parts of India, even now, they do animal sacrifice. There's some Hindus, who kind of believe in tantric practices. Because Hinduism does not kind of punish you or execute you for being different. Hinduism makes it that humans are different. I mean, you hear all the time, some religions saying exclusive, monolithic, oh, we are very compassionate and merciful. No, but if you say do something different from what the book says, then they get angry and upset. They will give you the freedom to practice what you want. See, Hinduism has always been open. It accepts that everybody is different and everybody will go to a spirituality in a different manner, what suits them best, and experience differently. And for that reason, you'll have many books with experiences and kind of, understanding of dharma, as there are many gurus in India, right? So I think Hindus first understand that just quoting a book is not enough. What do you think? What is your understanding of what life should be about? That is the key point. And then you say, okay, I mean, the reason, have you noticed one thing? Some of the books which are not that good, they're not popular. They're some hidden away. Nobody bothers. Only some people like Zakir Naik get them out. Where books which are really make sense, like Gita, they're very popular. So Hinduism has got its own way of sorting out, material which is really good, like some of 13 main Upanishads, and some which is not really necessary. So we say, okay, it's there. It's, in a way, it's good to be happy because we need to understand our own history, right? And different thoughts of Hinduism. But automatically, people get the books which suits them best. So people will quote all kinds of odd and awkward books, right? Which you never heard of. There was once, I think somebody was quoting, there's an Upanishad called Allah Upanishad, which kind of, what do you call, predicted the coming of the prophet. I think it was one of the Zakir video or something. I mean, anybody can say that. Anybody can write books like that. It doesn't mean it's right, yeah. I could understand this. Remember, use your rational faculty. Books are very important as a guide to help you get more spirituality, but they are not the final destination. If you do that, that means you have become a zombie. You're following a book blindly because some prophet said so, some God said so. Think for yourself.
Thank you, Vijay Bhai. So just for viewers' information, there are many videos these people are making, and in there they are discussing, oh, this chapter course, and some of them are mistranslated, blatantly mistranslated. If you go to original, quote, it means something else, and these people deliberately mistranslate it, or take some word and put complete wrong meaning to it, to twist it to so really, Hinduism in poor light. So, but good thing is there are online resources, and there are people making videos debunking these things as well. So you get somebody quoting Yajurveda 23:19, this thing, and all you have to do is search YouTube or search in Google, and you will find some Hindu gentleman or lady actually going through the actual text and debunking it. This is not right. What they are telling is real lies. And the good thing is, so social media is used against us to show in poor light, but social media is used as well by us people like us, to fight back as well. And there is plenty of resources out there. So anybody resourceful enough, you just have to use your computer, phone, just do some searches, look at few views, few videos and stuff, and you will see. So last week a lady sent a message saying, Yajurveda 23:19-21, showing really Hinduism in poor light, and she sent me a link to a video on YouTube where some Islamic people were talking about this and say, look, you people don't know your scriptures, and this is what it means. It's all this horrendous stuff in there. And all I had to do is search that Yajurveda quote, and it led me to a Twitter page where somebody's already debunked that whatever these people are saying is plain lies. So all this information is out there. So you have to use your initiative and search, and you will find the answers. And there you go. The truth is out there as well, and it can be used to debunk those myths.
Yeah.
So
I think
Vijay Bhai.
No, I just think that you're right, Manish. But I think it's quite easy to text torture, and change the meaning of some words. That happens all the time. I think we have to keep one thing in mind, that we have see some of these monotheists face, they believe they're waiting for the day of judgment, and they believe that can only happen if the entire world follows their belief. So they're on a mission. It's of course a failed mission, because the world is changing so fast. Most people can't even bother with religion. They're trying hard, but people are leaving religion anyway. So they're trying hard. So that's the mentality they have. That's their worldview. There'll be no second coming of the Lord or whatever, unless the whole world becomes, Christian or whatever. And these are the kind of people mentality you're fighting with. So I suggest that use your intuition, think properly, look for yourself, and think for yourself before you even try and answer these people. These people are not rational in my view. Yeah.
Okay. Another problem is some of these Puranic stories. They are very colorful, and so gods, and some of them maybe describe gods and goddesses, and doing some horrendous things. How do we deal with these?
As I mentioned again, in Hinduism, if Manish were tomorrow write a new Puran, I will not come and hurt you, right? That's not how Hinduism works. Anybody can write anything. Because God, if God is all compassionate, all merciful, then everybody can do what they like, right? We can't stop people. So the thing is this, people, I mean, Puranic stories are very ancient stories, but a very colorful, very nice when you're young. When you grow old, you got to think for yourself because, some people say, no, actually, there was Vimans flying in the sky. There is no evidence, archaeological evidence, there's Vimans flying in the sky. Go for the actually allegoric message and get the important message from the Upanishad. Think for yourself, okay, this, not Upanishad, but Puranic messages. This story is very good. It got a very good message and take the message. Don't take this story literally because others will be in problem because you can't in this day and age when you have modern thinking, scientific thinking, you can't just pass it over and say it's actually real. It's not real. Like when gods, fly up in the sky and they fight the sun, all these kind of stuff. This is not, can't be real, right? So you have to be very careful not to make this real. But have they got a place in Hinduism? Yes, they do. These points are very important. Sometimes they carry very good moral messages, very good stories for us to understand how to live. That's okay. But remember, some of the stories are actually allegoric, yeah? Don't take them literally.
Okay, we have a viewer asking question, saying, sir, I have a question. There are many things that discriminate women in Smritis and Puranas. So is it correct and not? And if not, why are they mentioned?
Okay, good question, Kunal, because think about it. We're talking about, say, medieval times. I mean, I've just finished reading the Manusmriti and it's very anti-women. So I'm not going to judge how the medieval society worked. And that's what I mean, that all these books, actually they do. Let's be honest about it. They do discriminate against women, and that's a fact. They can't deny that. But the society at that time was working differently. Women are supposed to stay in the house to protect them, and they were seen as not able to make decisions or whatever. So it's not good. I mean, I would not go in there because I didn't live at that time, and I can't really judge how society works. But that's what I mean. Nowadays, lot of there are more new like law books coming out, new books of conduct coming out by new Hindu movements, and they kind of supersede the old ones. So again, while this story is mentioned about this verse which are not what do you call discriminating against women, we need to understand that time. So we should make sure that doesn't continue now. That may have happened then. Maybe there's some reason for that, but we should not create now. So again, think for yourself and read it with a kind of a discrimination and understand what is good for us and what may not be applicable anymore to us. Hindus are okay with it. We can do that. We're allowed to do that, right? So do that, and then don't use verses which we are not conducive to modern society as we have today.
So Vijay Bhai, if somebody come up with a question from Purana, oh, your God did this, how should one answer the question?
If somebody says that, look, just make it very clear, first of all, that Hinduism is not a religion of the book. We have many Puranas, and Hindus decide for themselves what they would take into their life message. Some they will, some they would not. And you can make it very clear that in Hinduism, anybody is allowed to write about spirituality. It's a question of what you choose that helps you best progress spiritually. Just be honest about it. That's how Hinduism is, right? Yeah.
Wonderful. We take a next question from Sanjay Rohan Sankar. He's saying, when someone asks me as a Hindu, what's Hinduism about? Like if a Muslim or Christian asks, what do I talk about?
Yeah, I think first thing you have to clarify, Hinduism is not a religion like the Abrahamic faith. It's a dharma. It's a dharmic faith. Dharma means what? Dharma means trying to make sense of the world around you and make sense of yourself and make sense of the divine. And our goal towards that aim is dharma. That's what Hinduism is about. We don't say we are perfect, but we strive to be perfect. That's the key thing, right? So Hinduism is about discovering your true nature and who you are and what is out there and what's the link. So in a way, more of this Upanishad said that to be successful in Hinduism, to moksha, you have to go out and look at the world and ask a fundamental question. Why am I here? What is this universe about? What is this beautiful nature about? When you ask a fundamental question and you try and solve that question and ask who you are, that is Hinduism. Not just go out and believing something because somebody said so. That's not Hinduism.
That's wonderful to hear. Vijay Bhai. So staying with strict scriptures and fighting back if somebody is persistent in asking nasty questions and pulling out stories. Should one fight back with some questions or our own? Would any scriptures stand the glare of rationality? Because I think all scriptures, there will be issues, isn't it, Vijay Bhai?
I think you're right, Manish Bhai. Most of scriptures will not be able to stand the glare rationality. They will fall apart because they've got some words which doesn't make sense, either on a scientific level, on a social level, or on a even daily living level. It don't make any sense. It's very hard. But having said that, there are some scriptures which don't go into this idea of moral conduct, don't prescribe punishment. Those will have more longer kind of shelf life. Like the Upanishads talk about only, the main Upanishads we have. They don't talk about Atman, Brahman, and the universe. They don't talk about, person should do this if this happens. I mean, those will actually stay. I mean, I'll give you an example. In the Manusmriti, it says that if you do something, build something, you have to pay him in goats. Nobody does in goats, right? So out of context, right? So that will not apply today. So many of the scriptures are so medieval, it's got no sense at all in this day and age, right? I mean, like this says punishment. If you do this, you pay X amount of pannas. Nobody uses pannas as money anymore, so it doesn't make sense. So a lot of the scriptures, that's the problem with scriptural-based religion. They're stuck in a rut about 2,000 years ago, stuck in a rut about 1,500, but they're stuck in that rut, and they're struggling. Even they forget torturing other people's texts. They torture their own text to make sense because they go, oh, the world has moved. Now we have quantum mechanics. Let me look for a verse to torture and say, look, in this book there's quantum mechanics. If you say this, it's talking about some energy, that is quantum mechanics. So they torture their own text to try and make sense with science, and that's a very bad game to play. I mean, you look so silly when you do that, right? So I mean, let's put it this way, right? All I would say is to Hindus, the world has changed. If you experience God for yourself, write a new Upanishad for the modern youth. You're allowed to do that in Hinduism. The world is changing, our understanding changes. So in that sense, you're very, very lucky, to have a faith like ours. So once again, we are not a scriptural-based religion. We are an experiential religion. And you're okay to document your own experiential in a spiritual book. That's what I can say to that, yeah.
That's wonderful, Vijay Bhai. Just coming back to the question about what do we talk about Hinduism, spiritual humanism, and was the Jai Bhai's favorite topic. Yeah. That's something to talk about?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think it's about spiritual humanism and spiritual democracy. Hinduism is a spiritual democracy. I mean, this, Manish, if you remember, I think Swami Vivekananda was asked by somebody, you believe in 300 gods, 30 million gods. Oh, is it true? And actually, I think he said it's actually more. There are as many gods as there are people. That was his answer, basically. So in a spiritual democracy, we accept that people have different starting points and different ways of looking at the world and different ways of seeing spirit, the idea of the spirit. And that's really beautiful thing about this world. That's why we have beautiful diversity. I mean, like there was once an article I read about somebody saying that people in the forest, they see spirit in the trees, and I said, well, actually, who am I to judge? Because if for generations you'll be living in the forest, your understanding of the spirit and the forest will be so different. I will never have a clue because my whole worldview is urban. How can I judge them and say, look, they are wrong? I can't. I don't even know, right? How they come to the conclusion of seeing the idea of divine in the forest. So Hinduism accepts that. That's the beauty about Hinduism. Everybody in the world has different starting points, different history, different ancestral traditions, and that will drive into spirituality. So by saying, oh, this is the book, I don't care about your traditions, I don't care about history, I don't care about, your God knows how many is believing that you are wrong, I'm right because the book says so. I mean, how stupid is that, yeah? Because my book says so, the prophet has said this is it, I'm sorry, whatever you believe in, you're all going to burn in hellfire. Come on, I mean, what kind of world do we live in? I mean, don't fall in that trap. Hinduism is not like that. Yeah, we are very open. And so Jai Bhai has been made a very, very strong, pitch for spiritual democracy or spiritual humanism. Be a spiritual human, right? Not a materialistic human, not on material, on spiritual humanism. Yeah. So it's a very beautiful. That actually sums up Hinduism. Manish, you're right there. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Oli McCartell saying this sounds similar to how Christians in the 11th and 12th century started debating Jews, claiming they didn't know their own scriptures and that Christians understood the revelations better than Jewish people. And this thing then happened to Christians. The Muslims came about and they told Christians, and they're telling Christians now even that you don't understand your scriptures. We understand it better than you.
So it's a, yeah, I mean, because I go to interfaith dialogues and I've had some imams telling me that actually Jesus is a prophet and he believed that everything Jesus said was true, but Christianity has corrupted his message. So we should ignore it. We should use our message. I mean, this is like one upmanship, for heaven's sake. Yeah. Why are they doing that? This is the thing. I mean, it's a very good question by Oli McCarthy, because think about it. When you play this game on scriptures, which somebody else has written, no matter if it's a prophet or whatever, it just numbs your own intellect. You make your own scripture. Use information. There's so much information right now in the world out there, vast information. You got beautiful stuff from the Gita, from the Upanishad. Come to your own conclusion. Forget myself. Even the great Vedanta acharyas of India, Ramanuja, Shankara, Madhava, Vallabhacharya, they are all different in understanding because they use their own intellect from the understanding of the scriptures. They didn't say, oh, because he's right, I must be wrong. It doesn't work like that, right? Even a small thing like an atom, we say, chemistry is a particle and a wave, right? In physics. How can something as vast, as grand as supreme, deity, seen only in one narrow path? Doesn't make sense. Something as grand should have many ways to see him, right? There's a very beautiful story, ironic in the Purans, I think, about the elephant. Everybody goes blind and look at the elephant, they touch the elephant, the trunk, and they go, oh, elephant is somebody with a very big nose. And somebody goes, he touches the feet, he goes, elephant is somebody who's got the feet, size of a trunk, like that. And somebody touches the tail, he goes, elephant is a creature with a tail the size of a banana or something, right? But they're all right from limited worldview that they have. But the ultimate thing is the same, right? So Hinduism is like that. We accept that the divine, vast, broad, cosmic, ultimate reality is vast and cosmic. And depending on how we understand our historical background, our limiting of our intellect, senses, we will see the divine in different ways. And please follow that path, and that's okay. So please never feel that down because you're using your own intellect and path to find the true answers. Go for that, right? Yeah.
Wonderful. We got a question from Kunal. He's saying, sir, what scriptures should we read so that we can really know the core knowledge of Vedas and it's easy to understand?
So I would say that in the Vedas, we got very many parts in the Vedas. We have got the Samhita parts, hymns to personified forces, we got rituals. I would say look at the 11, 13 main Upanishads. Focus on those. They discuss the idea of nature of Brahman. The one I like a lot, the very short, like Mandukya Upanishad, we have the Mundak, Chandogya. Read those Upanishads and they will discuss about the nature of reality in the sense of who are we, what is the Atman. Those are kind of basic, but they're quite philosophical nature. The practical application, of course, is the Gita. So read the Gita. The Gita is also a very beautiful practical application. Regarding the Bhakti Marg, I would say read the Ramayana, give some idea of Mahabharata as well. Again, when you read those books like Mahabharata, remember they were at a time in a different context, right? 500 years ago, the world was different, society was different. So when you read it, understand that the written in that particular context. So you think in a modern terms, right? And get information that you need. That's all I can say. But again, as I mentioned, you are the greatest book of all. You yourself is a great book, right?
Yes, Vijay Bhai, and also we have books from the modern giants like Swami Vivekananda. There is Ramakrishna Paramhansa's teachings in Gospel of Ramakrishna, and there is Raman Maharshi and books about him.
Yes.
Modern version of Vedas in a way, are they not?
I think they went better. I agree with you. I forgot that you have mentioned true because the books of Swami Vivekananda, they're much more modern in context. Even if you look at moral messages, the Gospel of Ramakrishna is really beautifully written. It's very modern in nature and very simple to understand. Even the simplest person can get the message. So in many ways, as I mentioned, I said we decided that there are many new modern proponents of Hinduism writing the modern Upanishads and modern Vedas and modern Puranic stories, in a way you can call them, or modern Smritis. Use them because they're much more related to us. So yes, Manish, you're right. In that sense, writing the great of these new modern acharyas or modern, people who experience God are perhaps in many ways better. So please use that as well. Yes, absolutely. Very true.
Wonderful. So Kunal, there you go. There is, as Vijay Bhai said, there is this modern material from modern spiritual giants as well. And some of this information is online. So this Gospel of Ramakrishna, complete works of Swami Vivekananda are online. If you search Google Ramakrishna Vivekananda information or info, you come across that website, Ramakrishna Vivekananda Info, and they've got all these books online free of cost. So there you go. You got plenty to read. Hopefully you enjoy it. We take the next question from Mumukshu Vyas. He's asking, what is the difference between Buddhist and Advaita Vedanta teachings?
Okay, I'll give you my point of view. At the very top level, no difference, in my view. I've actually talked to a Buddhist scholar on this, to be honest, I'll tell you honestly. And he said the only difference between the two is that Buddhism is 0 and Advaita Vedanta is 1. That's what he told me. So the thing is this, look, Advaita Vedanta believes that there's only one ultimate reality, Sarvam Dityam Brahma, Sarvam Khalidam Brahma, Neha Nanasti Kincha. So there's only one and only, there's no two duality. So ultimately, there's only one ultimate Brahman. And when we find moksha, we lose our individuality and become about that one. But Buddhism says that there's nothing permanent. Everything is transient and temporary. There's no permanence. And if you, in a way, they make sense because I can't see the ultimate, So there goes like what I was last week. I know that today because I've changed. I've got new knowledge. So similarly, everything goes in a flow, right? It's continuously flowing, and life flows in a stream, and there's no permanence. So ultimately, they don't even talk about the spirit or matter. That's why, they say the idea of actually nirvana, by the way, means negation, nothingness. Is different from moksha. I know people interuse them. Nirvana means negation, nothing. So in a way, Buddha says, even Buddha has got a name called Tathagat, which means thus gone. So ultimately, when everything stops, it's a cessation of activities, is nirvana. As Buddha, Advaita goes, ultimately, when you link with the one, that one and nothing else remains, then that is moksha. So in a way, they're actually the same, right? I don't know. I wish I was alive when, was it Shankara was defending with Madan Mishra? When it is very powerful debate with Buddhism, and I would really be keen to know what went in that discussion. It's amazing. But I think, in my view, personally, I think there's not much difference in those, except for play of words. Yeah.
And what about Jain philosophy? So, Vijay Bhai, how Jain philosophy is different?
Okay, so about Jains is that, they don't believe in the idea of oneness or nothingness. They believe every Atman is identical, and when they achieve moksha, moksha, they will all they realize themselves, but they'll all be separate. There's no oneness. There's infinite number of souls, but they don't believe in a God either, right? They believe in the idea of you become a jinnah. Jinnah means the victorious one. And if you do meditation, if you practice ahimsa, non-violence, you will come to your true nature and you'll achieve this state of jinnah. When you're in that state, that means you're free from everything. But they're all individual, like the stars in the sky, the infinite stars, but they're all separate on their own, but they're all sparkling giants like that. That's the difference, in Jainism. There's a lot of other differences, but that's the main.
So in a way, it's kind of similar to spiritual experience and the state of moksha that Jai Bhai said you can retain your individualism if so wish. It's just that you feel connected to everything else.
That's the Jainism, yes, absolutely. But I mean, if you look at that's why they all call dharmic faiths, right? They all believe in experiential religion. So they are all part of the dharmic fold in that sense, right? Yeah.
That's wonderful. We might as well cover Sikhism. And Sikhism is again very similar to Advaita, and they say Ekankar.
Yes, there's a lot of in Sikhism as well. They do have a lot of similarities to the idea of Advait. Again, but the thing is, I think also they do have the belief in a faith in a God as well, and they believe, they believe the Guru Granth Sahib is the last guru. So again, they don't see it as a book. Important part, they see it as a living being, right? They see living being the guru. But I mean, Guru's concept is a very beautiful scripture. It's really inspiring. I mean, I've read, I've heard it. I love the Rag Sarang when they sing it, in this, in what do you call it, in the radio sometimes. It's very beautiful. But the thing about luckily for Sikhism, they had some prolific, scribes who collected the teachings of all their gurus. So they have got very lucky to have very good scribes. There was one scribe, I think, named Baba Buddha, he lives across 4 gurus. They got documenting every guru's teaching. So in many ways, they're very authentic in that sense. They've got word for word from every guru, and that is in the Guru Granth Sahib. That's why it's a really beautiful book. So, but yes, they do believe in the idea of, in some ways, of Advaita as well, also God as well. So it's a bit more mixed in that sense, yeah.
Okay, we take next question from, I think we've answered Chayank Sekar question as well. Is asked what is the difference between Buddha philosophy and Vedanta,
Yes,
which we discovered. Next question from Rivas. He's saying in terms of afterlife, obviously reincarnation is an element, but what happens when the world ends and there are no humans?
Good. I mean, I think what you mean by the world ends, you mean the cycle of existence. When all humans have achieved moksha, then there is no cycle of existence, right? Because even the world is in existence, we go in cycles. The world comes into unfolds. When the world unfolds, like, there's a very famous, Manish Bhai, very famous lecture by Swami Vivekananda in the first volume. It's called The Absolute and the Manifest. How the absolute, which is beyond space, time, and there's no space or time in that, how it becomes a manifest, how it manifests into this universe we see. Again, it becomes absolute, you go in cycles, right? So by and large, you go in cycles. Ultimately, the thing is, as you achieve moksha, you transfer the cycle of life and death. The question comes, what if all souls achieve? Now, this is a tricky part because different acharyas have got different kind of understanding. You will go through all of them, but there are some who believe that actually some in the Dvait philosophy, they believe that actually after a while, God wants to create and he wants his souls to play in that world. So he sends them out there to play and then eventually bring them back to himself. That's one belief. The other belief is that even though everybody is moksha, quite often Maya plays a role, and some parts of the Brahman can forget that they're part of Brahman. They become individualized like the Atma, which is what we are. And then you work back towards the Brahman. So it's all that cycle. But yet there is no clear answer, because ultimately this again goes to the same question. Why is the Brahman or Atma divided by Maya? Why doesn't he know his true nature? And that is something we can't answer. We can only say that when you achieve moksha, this question of the world, all that disappears, right? So interesting question, yeah.
Okay, we got a question from Aziz Ali Khwaja. He's saying, what is the difference between Vedas, Upanishads, and Gita? And what is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Uddhav Gita as well?
Okay, so first of all, the first question is the idea of Vedas, Upanishads, and Gita. So the Vedas is a vast collection of experiences of different rishis and rishikas, how they experience, and they've documented them and how to do that. So it contains many different things. It's got 2 main parts, the Vedas. One is called the Karma Kand, which is the part of action. One is called Gnan Kand, part of knowledge. So the Upanishads are part of the Vedas actually, right? So it's a part of Vedas. So in the Vedas, the Upanishads are the highest teachings of the Vedas. We actually call them Vedanta, right? So in essence, Vedanta, which is the ultimate teaching. So the Vedanta is, by the known as Ant, means Ved Ant. Ant means the end portion of Vedas. Because remember, the action part is external worship of the God, externally worshipping something. And for the first time in the Upanishads, we go inwards, who we truly are, what's our true divine nature. And that is what the goal of all Hindus is, that what is your true nature? That's what the Upanishad discusses. But the Upanishads are very philosophical. They are very, very, in many ways, very lofty thoughts, right? And very difficult to put in practice. That is where the Gita comes in. Gita is basically a practical application of the Upanishadic philosophy. And that's the main, I think, thing to keep in mind, right? That is applying it practically. That's the main idea of Gita. And Gita is very beautiful because almost all facets of Hinduism, how to achieve moksha, renunciation, bhakti marg, everything is kind of called the 3 gunas. So it almost is like a covers all different facets of Hinduism. So it's a very, very special book in that sense. Regarding the two ones and the Uddhav,
Bhagavad Gita, what is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Uddhav Gita?
I can't remember. I know Uddhav Gita, I remember at one time. Manish, if you can enlighten me, I'm not sure.
I think Uddhav Gita is like dialogue between Krishna and Uddhav or gopis. So it's more like bhakti text.
But yeah, okay, yes. Uddhav, yes. Actually, there's a whole movement called Uddhav Sampradaya on that. Yeah, so Uddhav Gita is also word of the Lord, but you're right, yes. It's more like bhakti based on the idea of gopi bhav. And that's a bit different. Bhagavad Gita is with Arjun dialogue. Yes, correct. Yeah. Uddhav was very famous person in a time of Gita and the gopis. Yes, Uddhav. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yes. So I think in Uddhav Gita, just mentioning that Sri Krishna sends Uddhav to gopis and to them not to lament and separation from Krishna, and understand that Krishna is ultimate Brahman and move on basically in life. And then when he goes and talks to Gopi, he realized the kind of importance of bhakti. So it's a very wonderful bhakti text. And
I remember that. Yeah, I think they said that he went to teach the gopis. Actually, he came back taught. He himself was taught by gopis actually what bhakti is. Right? Then he became really humble. Yes, correct. Yeah, that's a very beautiful story on that. Yes.
Wonderful. So there we are. I was going to ask a question, but that's slipped my mind now. So we take the next question from Rivas. What do you think about the corruption of the scriptures over the time? Are these inhibiting factors and discredit the religion? What's your perspective? So he's saying, especially Vedas, they were, transmitted orally and then they were written down, and very likely, and similarly, Puranic stories and even Ramayana, Mahabharata, over the time they got told and retold, and do they get corrupted and discredit the religion? What's your perspective, Vijay?
I think it depends what you mean by corruption, because remember, first of all, the experience of the rishis, when you experience something divine, like, the bliss you get, it's very difficult to put in words. If you tell somebody what is love, you can't explain, no matter what words you put, oh, love means beauty, love means that, you can never explain it because it's an experience, right? So the experience of rishis will be written down at one point, and you're right, as time goes by, people say, actually, he meant that. So I think it's very difficult to avoid that. The only way you can ensure that is by executing people, or if you write somebody for, threaten them, whatever, and we don't do that. So I think it's going to be inevitable that we changes. I mean, like even the Ramayana we have, Valmiki Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana, there's a difference. And Valmiki Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana is very popular nowadays. So what do you do? So I think, again, I would suggest that please read them with your own intellect and suss out what you think is the best information that you can get to help you understand as per your own intellect and use that. But yes, I would like to see authentic stuff, but I think it's difficult. Things will change, and that's how the nature of humans are. It's like Chinese whispers. Somebody says something else after something written down. And you may think that even actually you may think that Abrahamic faith about scripture has not been changed. Actually, that's not true. I've seen the internet now and the modern version of the Bible, even people writing modern Quran versions. I mean, how are you going to hunt them down? You won't know who they are. They're writing their own stuff, right? So you can't stop this. I mean, but anyway, in Hinduism, as you mentioned, that we are content creators. People are about to create content which doesn't match what is the old content, right? That's how Hinduism works. It's a bit tough in the sense that you feel that, oh, I'm on my own, I have no fixed book, right? Which is authentic. You may feel that a bit, lonely, but don't, because ultimately you have to drive yourself. You are your own master.
Wonderful. And also we have the modern, teachings from modern giants, like
absolutely.
So to fall back on. So we don't have to keep going back to the old stuff. We can look at the new stuff. And that's the beauty of it. Charmaine saying Mahadev is looking for his shirt. I'm glad it makes you smile, Charmaine. We take a next question from Rivas. He's saying, I'm not sure about Veda. How do Hindus believe the Vedas were found or written?
Okay, first of all, look, the divine truths don't change. Divine truths are always there to be discovered. They're not revealed in the sense, so revealed means I hide something in my chest, right? And I like it, I'm going to reveal it, like, I take it out. We don't believe in revelation like that. The divine truths are there. The divine truths are what? From experience of rishis, you're all divine. You're the ultimate supreme, being. You're the Atman. The question is, how do you discover that? And that's our goal. So the Vedas are documentation of different experiences, different, practices to try and reach that goal. Whether you do hymns to, personified forces, whether you do havans, the aim is to reach that goal of discovering your true nature. It is already there. You're not revealing something hidden. It's not hidden. It's there. You're discovering it. You want to find out the truth. And that's what this Vedas is about. You can call it reveal, I guess, in that sense, but it's something that anybody can be. It's not like, oh, I only reveal my divine knowledge to somebody special. If there's one rishi out there who has achieved moksha, that means everybody else can be a rishi and everybody can achieve moksha, including us. So in essence, the discovery of divine truths which have been documented in the Vedas.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vijay Bhai. There's another question from Rivas again. He's saying, can you briefly describe the state of moksha? Is it almost like a heaven? Is moksha and heaven the same thing?
No, they're not the same thing, because if you go to heaven and it's like a place, that means in a heaven is more like earth, but magnified times 10, like all the good things in earth. When you go to heaven, you'll have them there. But in heaven, you see, again, there's the idea of space, time, and causation. And that is a materialistic concept. It's not a divine concept. Moksha is a state when you transcend idea of Maya, material, your true nature, which transcends the idea of Desh, Kar, Nimit, which is space, time, and causation. These are amazing states. So in a way, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, if you remember when he touched Swami Vivekananda and he got this, for all of a sudden everything disappeared and he saw nothing. There was nothing, all the world disappeared in front of him. He felt like so much spirit charged, like 1,000,000 times charged. And when he came out, he didn't even know what hit him, right? So it's not something you already experienced, it's something far, far greater. So moksha basically means, this word moha, kshaya, means moha means illusion, like Maya. Kshaya means destruction. So moksha is the term, is destruction of delusion about your nature. When you know truly the delusion is destroyed and you find actually I am not of this universe, I'm actually transcend the universe, right? I transcend all these ideas of the universe. And that is moksha. Moksha is, there's no body by the, because you don't believe in the idea of having a body, right? So that's why we cremate. So you don't go to heaven with the body. So it's very like, look, body is just carbon material. And if you believe in evolution, we all come from the same single cell, archaic amoeba, right? We are all that. But inside us, the spirit is something else. It doesn't have a body. So in our case, moksha is actually the divine state which transcends the material existence. That's what moksha is about. Yeah.
Thank you, Vijay Bhai. Okay. There is a question from Drew Patel regarding vegetarianism. Drew, search on the YouTube. We don't have the time today to ask this question, but Jay Bhai has already answered this question. So if you type in YouTube Hindu Academy and then your question about vegetarianism, there's plenty of videos Jay Bhai has done, which should answer your question. Next is Oli McCartel saying language creates culture. How can we understand the culture and context in which Hindu scriptures were written? Are English translations sufficient?
Very good question. I think we ultimately can never understand fully. We can only infer from what is written down in the scriptures. That's what we can infer about the culture and the context. It's very difficult. I mean, even if you don't translate, even in the original Sanskrit text, even when you read that particular Sanskrit text, I've read some of the stuff, and it's very difficult to understand because we were not there at that time. We can only infer, we can make a good kind of judgment about what kind of culture was practiced at one time, or what kind of society was living at that time. But we can never fully understand. And I think it doesn't matter if we can't. I think the main thing is to get a good message out of it. It's good to understand the history, no doubt, because history is important to understand where you came from. But ultimately, I think as Manish Bhai mentioned, look at the modern kind of translations, modern understanding. I mean, the works of Swami Vivekananda, most of them are done in English lectures. which already translated for you. So very lucky in that sense. So I think language should not be a barrier for progress, in spirituality. So yes, use English translation fully. Of course, I've noticed sometimes when you translate something in English from Indian, it's very difficult. Even if it's in English, it's difficult. Forget about dharma. You can't explain in English because it's not a Western concept, right? It's very difficult to explain. It's only when you start living it and follow dharmic life, then you understand the richness of the word dharma. So quite often cultures can be a barrier, but also in many ways, if you try and live it, then perhaps it's easier to understand that culture. Yeah.
Okay, we take the last question from Rivas again. He's asking, when you speak about rishis, how do they primarily gain their knowledge? If you could describe this briefly.
Okay, I will not state for myself, but I'll tell you what's in the Upanishads. The Upanishads talk about to achieve the state of moksha, you first have to be ready. How do you do that? By practicing truths, austerity, even celibacy, right? Discipline, all these amazing tools which make you a better person, a more person ready to get true knowledge. So you have to be ready. And it's in all the Upanishads mentions the idea. I mean, even we have the 10 commandments, Patanjali, Asteya, Aparigraha, Brahma. So you have to have the basic qualities of being a human. We say manatva. You have to have those qualities. And then if you have those qualities, then you start working towards, achieving moksha. The idea that if you believe something in blind faith in a book or a scripture or God, that will not give you moksha. We don't believe that, Hindus. Hindus believe that you yourself have to work towards that by doing good karmas. If you do good karma, you practice. It's quite a nice circle. If you practice dharma, you do good karma automatically. If you do good karma, you become better at understanding dharma automatically. So in that cycle, and both these help you to come out of the cycle of samsara and achieve moksha. So that's the kind of, I think, the thing to keep in mind. So mainly self-development will help you to work towards moksha.
Thank you, Vijay Bhai. Yes, Garg, Kunal, sorry we couldn't take your question on avatars this week. Hopefully we'll take them next week. Please do come again and connect with us and ask these questions again. Nisit Bhai, over to you.
Fantastic. What a lovely session we've had today. I mean, there were some really lovely questions today. We explored a whole variety of things within the whole ecosystem of Hinduism. And of course, the focus topic of today was a really interesting one, all about how text torturing is sometimes used by people of other faiths to show Hinduism in a poor light. But I think the main thing, what Jay Bhai always used to say is, study your own texts, empower yourself with the knowledge, and then you'll be able to hold a firm discussion with anybody else who's trying to misuse or misrepresent what's in our scriptures. So like every week, I'd like to share something with you guys. We have a couple of resources. The resources are mainly for the people who are joining us for the very first time today. And I will just share my screen with you all. So the first resource I'm going to share is our Hinduism e-learning course, which you can find at hindu-academy.coachzippy.com. I will share with you another way of accessing it through our main website. But as you can see, over 8,400 students are already signed up in the course. Our main website is hindu-academy.com. Over here, you can get the e-learning course. You can sign up to it over there by clicking that yellow link. And over here, we've got 2 ebooks for Hinduism. One is for Hinduism for primary schools, and the other one, we basically have a basics and a little bit advanced version of it. You can download them for free by going to these to our link over here to these 2 links here. And finally, I'd like to end with a quote from Swami Vivekananda. And the quote is, "Arise, awake, and do not stop until the goal is reached." So with that, I hope you all have a most wonderful weekend, a safe week ahead. And we look forward to seeing you all next week, Saturday, 2 o'clock, as always. Bye-bye for now. Thank you to Manish Bhai and Vijay Bhai for hosting another fantastic session. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nisit Bhai.